All right, you're gonna get to sing when we start here.
Am
Yep.
I?
Popular.
You're
I wanna
gonna
be
be
popular.
popular. Okay, fun fact.
Yeah.
I auditioned for my high school musical with that song.
Oh,
I did not get in,
cute.
but it was fun.
I love
It was
that.
a little, not Elphaba, Glinda
Yeah.
for a moment.
Can you guys guess what we are talking about today? We're talking about media with neurodiversity and celebrities and all that good stuff, movies, TV shows,
Representation,
representation. Yep.
good and bad.
Yeah. So here we go. Auddy Hotties. Yeah, welcome to the Auddy Hottie podcast.
Here we are.
All right, guys, welcome back. I'm Bree,
I'm McKenna.
and we're here hosting Auddy
Here we
Hotties.
are.
Yeah. We're talking about media today, and part of this got brought up because when you first saw Wicked, you were like, oh, I really want to talk about autism coding in this. But then I was just watching Survivor, which I am not a longtime fan of. Like, I've seen episodes in the past, but I'm not someone that watches like every season. So the fact that I was watching this season is a little weird. Like, it was just an odd thing, like the butterfly effect that we just talked about.
Yes.
But I was literally bawling. Did you happen to go watch it yet?
No, I haven't
Okay.
watched it yet. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Don't worry. You have to see it at some point, but don't worry. The newest season, the season 48, just recently on the episode, I think last week, episode 5. So there's a girl in there, Eva, who is out as being autistic, which by itself is awesome. Like representation in
Yeah.
game shows, especially, is like super rare.
Yeah.
But she had a full autistic meltdown on the episode, like filmed, and people can talk about like the ethics of filming what's happening, but I felt like it was so powerful that they didn't cut away from it and just like let it happen. And it was really cool because like the teams are usually not allowed to talk to each other during or after a challenge. Like they can kind of like yell back and forth, but they're not allowed to go over and like high five, hug, like support each other, that kind of thing, because they're supposed to be against each other.
Got it.
So she had originally started out on a team with this one guy, and the only person that she had told that she was autistic on the show. And they had like talked about like, how do I support you? And like, what do you need in those moments? That kind of thing before. And then they got separated when they changed the teams. And so he was on the opposing team. But she finished the challenge and she went into this meltdown, a full like breath caught, like just heavy, uncontrolled sobbing kind of thing. And everybody, was trying to hug her and pat her back and like do what we would expect to like comfort somebody in those moments. And it was just escalating for her. And the guy on the other team was just sitting there like wanting so bad to help her, but knew he wasn't allowed to. And the host finally just was like, you can go, like, you go help her. Like, she needs you in this moment, and like broke the rules of the game to let him go. I'm getting like chills, and, like, literally goosebumps
Yeah.
just talking about it. So he went over and helped her in the way that she had taught him how, of like helping squeeze her hands for her, or like compress her, or just like stop her and help her breathe, and like worked her through it on television in like the most raw way.
Yeah.
And like me and Lauren were both, which Lauren doesn't cry to anything. And so we were just bawling, like seeing this other person and like feeling the empathy of like I've been there in that like meltdown moment,
Yeah.
and seeing how different it is from just like a neurotypical stress situation.
Yeah.
And the fact that they like showed all of it, they didn't shy away from showing the representation. And afterwards, she did come out to like the rest of the cast and say like, this is what happened in that moment, and like this is why your comfort wasn't enough, and why what he was doing was better for me at that moment. And oh my God, like, ugh, it's making me want to cry now.
Yeah.
But
There's nothing like that on TV.
yeah, you never see that real. Like, if you do see autistic characters, it's in the like cute, quirky things, and like, maybe some stress, but not like that, not real stuff.
Yeah, if you see it, it's more of like a pan away from it or
Mhm.
like a
We're gonna give them a minute,
yeah.
and like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And doesn't talk about the supports or anything like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the fact that they put her needs in the moment over the rules of the game show was just like so cool. And
Yeah.
um, I didn't realize because I don't watch Survivor long term, but they've been pretty like not politically active, but like in a way like pushing boundaries for a long time because they have a ton of openly queer characters on there. They had a trans man on that talked about his struggles, and he ended up having to leave because he was on a medication that reacted badly if you didn't eat consistently. And like half of Survivor is that they don't have food
I
consistently.
literally know nothing about
Yeah.
Survivor. Like
Yeah. I
nothing.
still don't feel like I know anything after watching several seasons. So it's a very
Yeah.
complicated show. But yeah, they've been like kind of pushing those boundaries for a long time. And like this episode was filmed, the one with the autistic girl woman. I also hate that they've been calling her the autistic girl, the cute girl. Um, no, it's an autistic woman on the show. That this was filmed in like June, July of 2024. So it
Last
hasn't
year.
been since um someone was elected. But the fact that they're still putting it out and they're not shying away from like, even though someone has talked about how we need to cure autism and blah 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 blah, it's an
Hmm.
epidemic, all of that. The fact that they're still putting it out and saying like, no, we're gonna like put out our show's content and be inclusive of lots of types of people. Super cool. So I'm now a much bigger fan of Survivor than I was.
You've gotten a viewer.
Yeah, yeah. So if you want to cry heavily, go watch that episode. You don't have to watch the other ones to get the context of it. It's really just what happened in that one. But
I have a
um,
question.
yeah,
Do you know if she gave consent to have that aired?
I I think she must have because of her like also coming out to the cast and stuff was her choice. Like they didn't tell her she had to or anything.
Yeah.
Um, And I think when they sign that, they pretty much sign their lives away because it's like a dude like dislocated his arm and like had it put back in on live TV.
Right.
Like they just
Yeah.
like have wild stuff that happens on that show anyways.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know if there was like a specific moment of them talking about it.
Yeah. I guess as someone who's like listening to this story, I just like, I think that the representation is wonderful
Mhm.
and at the same time has that, what is the word?
I like the autonomy and
No, actually, I'm going towards like it's entertainment and it's like
yeah.
capturing,
Mhm.
um, you know, her autistic breakdown in this moment and then talking about it. And even though it's all in the name of like really good representation, I hope that she had the choice to either like
Mhm.
take it off air or put it or keep it on.
Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
because like that's so personal. But
Yeah,
that's just
definitely.
my spiel of things. I don't think I could ever have a meltdown recorded and like shown to other people. I like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
mine are private for sure.
Yeah. Mhm. Do you feel like you're just kind of like sucked back in if people are around?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I feel like there's autistic meltdowns and autistic shutdowns. And I very much experience the shutdown with other people. And the meltdown part is like there's only a couple of people that I let see my meltdowns. A couple of really close friends,
Yeah.
my parents, my sister.
It's really cool that you can let your parents see that. I don't think it's something that I could
Oh,
share with family
really?
at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really lucky. My parents are like probably my number one support,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're away, like during some really hard times, like I'll just fly down there to get the support I need and to be
Mm-hmm.
seen and held. And they've always been really loving in that way. And it's really funny. I feel like I've been doing a lot of reflecting on like childhood and like middle school and whatnot, and I used to get into like screaming matches with my
Mm.
mom,
Uh-huh.
like big time. And I haven't really done that with another human since. Like,
That was my little brother's reaction more because
really?
he went into those like really intense outward kind of attacks where I
Yeah.
pretty much always go into the more internal. Like if I had anything, it was like in my room with my door closed, nobody around. Like I didn't ask for
Yeah.
that support in any way. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, nope.
Yeah. And it's funny because I feel like I have both. And
Mm,
I don't know if it's because like during those attack or during those like I don't know, getting things out and that something happened and I felt like I needed to like go into my room and retract a little bit more, or maybe just maturing more into my feelings. And
mm.
we all know that I cry at the drop of a hat and I wear my feelings on my sleeve, but my heart on my sleeve, not my feelings. But yeah, it's interesting to think about. Yeah, meltdowns are really interesting.
Yeah.
They're hard for me. I before I knew that I was autistic, I really had some, dark depressive thoughts and just like that's kind of where I know that like I'm an autistic burnout and like melting down as I start
Mm,
kind of having these like I would rather like not even be here anymore and like
yeah.
now I have that connection of like oh it's just life is too overwhelming and like to have made that connection I feel like is such a privilege
Mm,
because yeah, I just thought that like I had these depressive episodes and like there was nothing that medication was doing to help me with it and or like lifestyle or anything like that. So it's just
yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
I don't know how we got on this topic.
Yeah, well, now I take it back that I have had um meltdowns in front of people a couple of times, and they were both on trail, on the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
Because I think the emotions were so heightened and like
Yeah.
combined with like fatigue, tiredness, there was no like real escape, like all of
Yeah.
that. Like
Yes.
I had a couple of panic attack meltdowns
Yeah.
on trail. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure that the survivor kind of comes out similarly because they're a big part of it is that they're on these islands being challenged with like no niceties, no comforting things,
Yeah.
sensory nightmare probably, like
Right.
minimal food, that kind of thing. So it really heightens like emotions and everything to start with. And I know that I can mask even like meltdowns and shutdowns and stuff to some degree,
Yeah.
as long as I'm not in that extreme state.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Well, and it also goes to show that you can prep as much as you can for something that you're walking into, and with as much autonomy as you have, like you going on trail, her going on Survivor, knowing that it's going to be these things, and the meltdowns still show up,
Yeah.
and that
Mhm.
overwhelm still shows up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And on the topic of other media things, now that we did our little sad tangent there.
I
I think,
definitely had a meltdown last night,
oh
like,
no. Oh
but
gosh.
with my mom on the
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
Anyway, we can change the subject.
I think let's talk about the other like really controversial slash emotional one before we get on to other just general things because the other one is that the new season of Love on the Spectrum is out, and I will be honest, I haven't watched any of it, none of the seasons, none of the episodes. I have seen some clips on social media, and that's about it. But you said that you went through and watched it
I will
all.
be honest. I've watched it all.
Yeah.
Um, Mostly because it is something that I'm really interested in exploring, like what is happening. And I feel like consuming the media is an important part of that, even though like I really hate the setup and like I mean, I just found out too. Like, I know we talked about this in a couple of episodes prior, but we were questioning whether the people on Love on the Spectrum were being compensated. And so no one was compensated on the show. And people do compare it to shows like The Bachelor or The
Mhm.
Bachelorette, where it is this reality show. However, people are coming back for multiple seasons of Love on the Spectrum. And also, like, it's a great opportunity to compensate autistic individuals. So why
Yeah.
not make it an equitable opportunity and compensate? Um, that's something I don't understand, especially with how much traction this season has got.
Yeah. It seems like this one's really blown up.
It's blown up so much, and like I understand that there's probably monetary stuff coming on like TikTok and like if anyone was to write a book, I'm sure that it would be picked up by a publisher right away. So I get that it is exposure. It's also just like exploitation.
Yeah.
And like thinking of how much that Empire has brought in,
Mhm.
uh, I think that some of the actors, at least, if not all, I think all of them should be compensated.
Yeah.
Just from the stance of equity.
Yeah.
But
And I also, before we talk about more about it, that, this, it's super, super nuanced on like
yeah.
supporting it, not supporting it. Like,
Yes.
I feel like even not having watched it, just from what I've heard about it, that everyone to some degree like sees some of the value in it while
Yes.
also seeing that there's a lot of problematic things in it. And I will say on the positive end of something that I saw was someone talking about was talking about like an original queer culture and queerness in the media and like how it was brought in initially and how when like the first
Yes.
queer representation in like TV shows and movies and stuff was so bad. It was so stereotypical. It
Yeah.
was so like I don't know, put you in a box,
Yeah.
judgmental. Like sometimes the characters were like either a negative aspect or they were like, oh, it's just the one, stereotype of the flirty gay friend or whatever.
Right.
Like
The
there
gay
was
best friend.
no
Yeah.
variation in like who these people were, their own personality. Like that was just it. You're the gay person on the show.
Yeah.
And how over time that has really progressed a lot in those areas and
Yeah.
that's kind of been the trajectory of how media tends to work in the
Hmm.
progressive acceptance of things. And so I did see that and was like, okay, well, that's kind of encouraging if we put ourselves back into the like, yes, it's not at the place that now a lot of queer representation is at, but maybe we are at that starting point of where like we're showing autistic people, even if it's in a like silly little box and we're not doing it in a good way, but like
Right.
slowly over time, hopefully the media will do similar trajectories where they figure it out and slowly make representation better.
Yeah.
It sucks to start there, but it was kind of like a nice reminder of like, oh yeah, a lot of our other representation started in not great places either.
No, and that's really important to like comment on and remember that it's like not black and white, it's not good or bad. There are just problems with it
Yeah,
and
problems to learn
danger.
from, and yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully that they'll change over time. Mhm.
Yeah. That's such a good point.
Yeah. And I think one of the other big things that I've heard is that a lot of people don't have problems with any of the cast themselves. Like it's not the autistic people's problems or their like some family problems, but like the cast
Yeah.
themselves are
The
like
Trumpers.
yeah, the cast themselves are like well appreciated and stuff, but a lot of it is from that like perspective of like how the show shows
The production.
yeah, the
Yeah.
production and the angle that they're coming at it from. Mm,
Yeah, I would say that the problem is the production and also the our society is a huge problem.
yeah. And some of
But
the cast selection too, right? Like the
yeah. So,
diversity that they've chosen.
yeah, so there is a lot of discussion about them going with people with higher autistic people with higher support needs. But like that in between where it's not too high and it's not too low. It's kind
Hmm.
of this like niche part where enough to infantilize on,
Hmm.
which is like huge in the reception, but not enough that like cast members are non-speaking or like there is no one with an AAC
Hmm.
device on the show, which I think is wild as an
Yeah.
SLP. But they did have someone who like came in, he had his headphones on, took them off. First of all, the date was in a restaurant, so and like in his little intro thing, it even said that he doesn't like noises, which the intro thing too is like something I would love to nitpick. But I don't know if they choose their dates or if the production company chooses where they're going on a date, but like even if it is up to the cast members or whatever, there should be some discussion over like what the environment's going to be like. And
Mm.
I'm sorry, my brain is like popping off because I'm
There's
like,
too many things
well,
to
yeah, like
touch on.
I have
Mm.
so much issue with like the fact that all of these dates look like neurotypical, stereotypical dates.
Hmm.
Like that pisses me off so much
Yeah.
because whoever said that a date has to be at a restaurant, like at a nice restaurant, I guess it's like in the movies or whatnot, but why isn't there more education about like dates can be doing anything or like literally
Hmm.
just spending time together? I don't know.
Yeah, so I was reading an article about it that brings up that exact fact. They said it's Love on the Spectrum is made from a non-autistic positionality
Yeah.
for a non-autistic audience.
Yep, it
So
is.
it feels neurotypical
Yeah.
because it's set up to be neurotypical for
Yeah.
neurotypical audiences to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the problem is it's like it's their producers are not autistic.
No.
They're not neurodiverse in
No.
any like known way that I know of.
Yeah.
Um, and heard that at least they switched their coach. I guess the first seasons,
She's
the
not
coach was,
switched.
oh, really? They saw on the third season that there was now at least an autistic dating coach.
She's been on the earlier seasons. She is autistic. She is also a someone who like says sweetie and honey at the end of
Oh,
every interaction.
okay.
Makes
So
me
maybe
so
not great
mad.
representation, even though.
And and like is still from the perspective of encouraging people to communicate in a societal expected way
Oh.
where it's like um what do you do on your date? Oh, you talk back and forth about this thing and make sure to look for this cue so you don't talk about this too much. And
Mm,
what are you going to do to ask her questions? And like, I understand communication is very important to understand how it works in a societal way, but like, people can communicate however they want to.
mm,
And that organic way of who they are obviously needs to be showcased in a date. Otherwise, it like fakes that compatibility. And
mm.
that's something that I really don't love about this
Just
show.
lack of authenticity to it, and
It's a lack of it's performance. It's a lack of authenticity. It's a direct, look into ABA and like
mm.
compliant based.
Which I did hear that like some of the family is some of the problematic areas too, which is realistic to real life that like some of the ways that they talk of kind of infantilizing also. Like,
Yeah, I would say that for sure. And just like I never knew that they would find love and
mm,
um that like relationships are a priority in society, like I think is a problem too.
yeah.
Just because it's brought them a lot of, meaning, it doesn't bring everyone meaning.
Yeah, like we talked about on our Valentine's episode, that there's some people
Yeah.
that choose that it's not that valuable to them.
Yeah,
Mm,
and that's okay
yeah.
and should be valued. And I think too, almost all of the cast members are very privileged in the sense that like they do have that familial support. I think almost everyone is still living at home, which is a very poor representation of autistic adults.
Yeah. And
Um,
I heard they're mostly like affluent families as
yeah,
well
they are.
and have the supports and a lot of those things that or have the ability to get a lot of supports that
Hmm.
not a lot of autistic people do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they do. Um, and then a couple of them, are conservative. So, which is a, I don't know, it's their own problem.
Yep.
It's not my problem.
It's representation of some kind, I guess.
I know. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
But yeah, it's that hard balance of like, it's good that we're getting people talked about and like it not necessarily being normalized more, but a little bit normalized in media, like, and then that balance of like it's not being done well
Yeah.
or from an autistic take instead of from a neurotypical take.
Yeah, and I know that like the autistic community in particular is like incredibly upset about the infantilization
Mhm.
of every single cast member. I mean, and it's just all over TikTok and
Yeah.
um
I don't know a ton about it, but I heard that there's a character, Danny,
yeah.
that everybody says like, oh, well, they don't like her because she
Yes.
can't be infantilized in the same way
Exactly.
that the other characters are.
Exactly.
Mm.
And she, yeah. She's great. I'd be her friend.
Oh.
But you're right. Like she isn't liked, and it's because she's got a master's degree, and I think she lives independently. But there was a woman, Kaylin, who was on the first season, and she was level 1 support needs and was not asked to come back,
Mm.
even though she has been like a fan favorite.
Oh.
And a lot of people are speculating it's because she is um like has less support needs and they don't want like that representation for whatever reason.
Hmm.
But it's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hmm. Yeah, well, that one is super nuanced.
Yeah,
So,
and like if
mm,
if anyone's like wondering that like infantilization component of things, it's like looking at an interaction and saying, "Oh, that's so cute," or like, "Oh my gosh, adorable," or
yeah,
like,
like think twice about the way that you're saying it. Like, would
"Yeah,
you say that about any other adult relationship? Like, I don't know. That doesn't feel like it feels like you're just doing it to them specifically.
yeah,
And other people with developmental disabilities and
yeah,
similar things where we're not giving the benefit of the doubt and we're treating them, yeah, like it's such a sweet, cute little unique thing. Mm.
yeah," and look at them, they're holding hands, they're figuring it out. It happens at my work all the time, and it really aggravates me.
Yeah. Which
One,
there's oh, go
oh,
ahead.
you go ahead.
There's a difference between like appreciating something and finding joy in it and being like, oh wow, that like I love that that's working for them and saying like, oh how cute, they figured it out. Like just listen to the way that you're putting that in perspective. Mm,
Yeah, and just like respecting other people for where they're at and not needing it to be like a levels based thing
mhm,
either. I don't know. Like it just feels icky.
mhm,
Feels really icky. I was gonna say that I do feel something that is good about the show is also seeing how people interact with autistic folks.
mm.
Like their families. One in particular, Connor's family, even though his mom's the trumper. Um, and like anyway, um, they are very like they never laugh at him when
Mm,
he's like saying his things or like oh, what is the word? Just like non-infantilizing, I would say, and to really treat him and respect his autonomy. And so
yeah.
that's enjoyable to see. I feel like that's a big thing that's missing from media in general, and
Mm,
I have experienced as I've worked with adults with disabilities and watching how other adults interact, like typically developing adults interact with adults with disabilities, it's really jarring,
mm,
I would say. I
yeah.
went to a career fair with my students like 2 weeks ago, and that involved being at the expo center and going to all these booths. And it was like for a lot of high schools in the area. So there's probably like 1,000 people there, and I was in charge of 2 students, and we went to, different booths, and some some vendors took the time to speak with them, and others did not.
Mm.
And some like held up the candy bowl right away,
Oh, geez.
and
Mm,
like
mm,
this is just weird.
oh,
So
hmm.
that to me is like, I don't even know if I want to work with students with disabilities anymore. Like, I almost want to work on the other side and be like, this is how to respect humans.
Yeah.
So,
Teaching how to like actually integrate and
yeah.
yeah. Mm.
Anyway.
Yep. Which I don't know. One of the ones that I looked up was also Big Bang Theory, since that was a big part of our like younger time.
So,
And like
yeah.
they don't outwardly, they specifically avoid labels and they don't personally claim that any of their characters are a specific neurotype or anything. But a lot of people know like that it's kind of autistic coded, like
Yeah.
in Sheldon and Leonard too, I think.
Yeah.
And but I do like even in the problematic areas of that one, I
Yeah.
do like that they show someone who's successful and has a
Yes.
job and is actually super smart and like,
Right.
interacts with typical people. What's the girl's name?
Penny?
Penny,
Yeah.
yeah, who is clearly not,
Yeah.
but they like still like show those relationships and stuff within it.
Right.
So yeah, the downsides of that is a lot of people have said that it's a little too like boxy, like they're very like put in a box for their type or whatever.
Put in a box and then not even like labeled,
Yep.
where there's not even like the actual
Yeah.
representation
When a lot of
of
people have
it.
talked about like, is Sheldon actually autistic coded or is he more OCD, narcissistic personality type coded? And like, I don't know, there's a lot of
Oh,
debate
interesting.
back and forth on where that falls.
Hmm.
But yeah. Yeah, so then we can get to Alpha.
Oh, yes. Well, so I was watching Wicked, and I've been the Wicked fan for years and years and years. And there's a lot of feedback from fans that think that Elphaba and Galinda are queer and like are together. And that was what
Oh.
a lot of people talked about after the movie came out. Um, but I was way more interested in thinking like, oh my God, Elphaba is autistic, and I almost wonder if Galinda is too, because if you like listen to the lyrics of the song Popular, like it's literally how to mask, and that she has learned how to mask, and now she's going to teach Elphaba how to
I
mask in
wonder if she's
society.
more ADHD because she's so like
Maybe so bubbly.
hopping around everywhere.
Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
Um, that was like really enjoyable to like have that connection. Because I've listened to that song for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Um, but also just that whole story of, she's othered in society
Mhm.
and what it means and the opportunities that she hasn't been given, and then all of a sudden like it's some because of her. I don't know where my brain was going with that one. Whoa. It left the station completely.
I love that you've adopted that saying now.
I have.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Mick.
Mick.
The train has left the station.
I literally haven't used it since
That's so cute.
our podcast recording, and I've used it, what, 3 times today?
Yeah, situational. You're in the same room, so it came back.
But also in the song Defying Gravity, there's a lot of lyrics about like, I'm finally done, like, living to all of your expectations and to
Mm.
all of your limitations that you've placed on me. And I'm like breaking free of that, and I'm gonna like do my thing and live for myself. And
Yeah, you can still be with the wizard, but that's not what I want anymore. And then, yeah, like
yeah,
I don't want to be part of that anymore. I'm gonna.
yeah. And there's a lot of like societal breakdown in her, like in her mind, she sees like what all the fuckery is about with the way that the society is arranged. And so that to me also speaks of like justice orientation and how like much she cares about the animals
Yeah.
and saving them, and like can't understand why she's the only one that like is so concerned about the animals. Like it gave me literal flashbacks of like me being confused in grad school, thinking about like, wait, why are we doing it this way? And like getting so angry
Mhm.
and like really seeing myself in Alphaba.
Well, and that like heavy empathy that she shows for
Yeah.
her sister and the animals and
Yes.
that kind of stuff that isn't returned to her herself
Yeah.
either. Because I have experienced a lot of that where I don't feel like I
I
get a
know.
lot of empathy because I maybe seem like I have a hard shell or
Right.
something, or I
Right.
don't connect on whatever level it is that they want for feeling what I feel. But
Yeah.
I feel everyone else's emotions so strongly. So I can
Yeah.
definitely see that part of it. Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a great movie.
It's good music, good storyline. Also kind of
Yeah.
pushing back against current regimes.
Yes. It came out at the right time. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
That was my alphabet take. It was mostly just like I had that realization about Popular, and I was like, we have to talk about this on the
Yes.
podcast.
Another one that we've kind of talked about before was Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
Yeah. About, gosh, I'm the worst with names. What's his name?
Mr.
Mr.
Darcy.
Darcy. Mr. Darcy and
Yes.
his inability to show emotions or
Yeah.
communicate what he's trying to
Yeah.
communicate.
And rigid thinking and
Kind of being ostracized a bit from society besides
yes.
his close family and
Yes. So
mm,
he is known to be autistic.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, I watched Sense and Sensibility last week, which is another Jane Austen film,
Mm.
and they talk about Marianne, the middle sister, being ADHD. I kind of
Ah,
found that in a couple of posts this
oh, that's
week.
super cool.
But
Mm. I'd say she's not on my list of speculated people, but we'll get to that.
she's someone who, so I've told a couple of people this, but she's the first character that I've related to in a long time where I'm
Mm.
just like, oh my God, you are me and I am you.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's just funny to like watch her be her thing, do her thing, and
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Well,
Anyway,
then we were talking about some other shows that that show autistic characters, but they're not played by autistic actors
yes,
to our knowledge. And
yeah,
just coming down, it's just the same as how many white people have we put in non-white roles? And
yeah,
yeah,
Jesus.
basically, Jesus, step one, fucked that up from the start. On like so many Asian roles that they put
I
white people into,
know,
and I'm like, there are a million
I
wonderful
know.
Asian actors, and you chose to put in this white guy. Some other ones that were just honorable mention though, that are suspected autistic characters were House, The Good
Hmm.
Doctor, and Bones, that are all like people that present with a lot of autistic coded.
Yeah, the good
Mhm.
doctor is autistic.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
for
Mhm.
sure. And they use the term Asperger's, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
Mhm.
But House and what was the other one?
Bones.
Bones,
Yeah, there's a
they're
lot of
like
like
autistic
rumored to,
coded.
yeah.
Yeah,
They don't ever outwardly say anything about it, but like the way that they present with like special interests and
yeah,
hyper focus on things, and they're
yeah.
like,
Yeah, the good doctor was something that I watched in high school and I actually really enjoyed watching and didn't realize that like the actor that plays the role is not autistic.
hmm,
And so that's problematic in itself, just acting out all of these
yeah,
different things. And it has the potential to bring about good representation. Like I remember him having a meltdown in the operating room because of the lights or
mm,
whatever. And but like
but
it
not,
should have been an autistic person being
yeah,
compensated for that. So,
definitely.
which in Parenthood was another show that has an autistic child,
Mm,
and Max is played by an autistic person.
mm,
So,
awesome. Yeah. Mhm.
um, and that storyline is great because it shows him being diagnosed, it shows the parents receiving the information, it shows telling the family at large, and then kind of like throughout the seasons shows all of the different hardships that come with higher support needs autistic kid and
Mm,
navigating friendships, navigating society. The grandpa really wants him to join a baseball team and like Max can't deal. And so having the like dad talk with the grandpa about that. And then they end up later in the show, the mom and dad end up opening a school for
mm.
um I think just like a alternative school for students that aren't doing well in the mainstream. So it's a
Oh,
beautiful
I
show. I
just
love that show.
you talking about that, I just realized like all this media representation we're talking about. So like in diagnostic criteria and in like medical knowledge, kids are focused on way more than
Yes.
adults. Like we're only just learning about a lot of things for adults, but it's so interesting so far. Like all the media that we've talked about is almost all like
Hmm.
adults and like those social interactions as an adult.
Hmm.
So it's really cool to hear that there's like one focused more on a kid and also covering all those like hard components of it too, because I feel
Yeah.
like that gets, besides like maybe the small day-to-day things, you don't really see the like processes of what they've gone through. So
Yeah.
that sounds really cool.
It
Mhm.
is a great show.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So one of the things I wanted to end on for today was talking through reading off a list of some people who are autistic, who are celebrities, or they're all diagnoses under the umbrella. I'll put that out there. But I did choose to use their preferred or their original diagnostic terms. So some of them I will say Asperger's for, even though we know that that's more of an antiquated term now.
Yeah.
And it's a little tedious, but stay with me, it's with a point. All right. So we've got a few famous people that we know of already that are big and out about it, but Greta Thunberg, she's an autistic climate activist. Temple Grandin, an autistic scientist and author. Simone Biles is ADHD. She's a gymnast. Emma Watson has ADHD. Hermione.
Hermione.
Hermione. Billie Eilish has Tourette's, and she's a singer. Bella Ramsay just recently came out with her autism diagnosis. She's an actress from Game of Thrones. Daryl Hannah has autism, and she was diagnosed as a child, and she's the actress from Blade Runner, Kill Bill, and Splash.
Mermaid.
Yeah, Mermaid. Uma Thurman, also from Kill Bill, also has autism, and actually her daughter that she had with Ethan Hawke, Maya Hawke, also has autism. She was in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Susan Boyle has Asperger's. She was diagnosed at 51 years old,
Wow.
which is super cool. And she's a singer from Britain's Got Talent. Sir Anthony Hopkins, he has Asperger's that was diagnosed later in life. He's from Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs.
Terrible movie.
Hate, hate, double hate. No, I love this.
I really do hate, double hate that movie.
Um, Hannibal book series is one of my favorite
Oh, really?
series. Yeah.
Love
I
it.
haven't really watched the movies though, because I'm not into scary things.
I've
But
never seen Hannibal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd, he has Asperger's that was diagnosed in the 1980s, so super early, and Tourette's. He is a comedic actor who did Ghostbusters. Satoshi Tajiri, probably not even close, but they have Asperger's in there who created Pokemon.
Cool.
Yeah. Jerry Seinfeld openly has said he possibly has autism but isn't diagnosed. Daniel Radcliffe has OCD and dyspraxia, which is difficulty with movement or uncoordinated movement. And we all know who he is. Harry
Harry.
Potter, Harry Potter, Harry Potter, Harry Potter. Snape, Snape, Severus Snape, Dumbledore. There you go. Michelle Rodriguez, she's also an actress who has ADHD. Ajoa Ando, who has dyspraxia, and she's an actress from Bridgerton. Ryan Gosling, who has ADHD. Wentworth Miller, who has ASD that was diagnosed in 2021. He's an actor from Prison Break. Emma Stone has the diagnosed panic disorder. Stephen Fry is bipolar. He's a British actor and writer. And Catherine Zeta-Jones has bipolar as well. She's a Welsh actress. And then I have a list of people that fall under dyslexia because the list is so long. And of course, that's not an all-inclusive list. Like this is just like big names that popped
Yeah.
up on lists of like
Right.
famous female celebrities who have it, or
Yeah.
which of your singers has these conditions. Da,
Sure.
da, da, da.
Yeah.
So there's a list of dyslexic people that I'll read a few off of because there are a lot of big names that might surprise some people. But my dyslexia list was Tom Holland, Octavia Spencer, Kit Harington, Keira Knightley, Whoopi Goldberg, Jennifer Aniston, Selma Hayek, Danny Glover, Keanu Reeves. Like, that's just a small list of how many were
Yeah.
falling under the dyslexia umbrella.
Wow.
And then some speculated ones that we don't know mostly because of time frame and age, but based on their like social history and stuff they potentially are is Tim Burton, Albert Einstein, Charles Darwin, Emily Dickinson, Sir Isaac Newton, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs.
Hmm.
They're all on the list of like everybody's kind of speculated, but we don't actually know.
Yeah.
So yeah, the point of reading off that many of them was to show you just how many people just in celebrities. Like that's not
Yeah.
even like considering people whose names aren't known to the broader world. Like
Right.
this is how many people are right here who are part of our communities, who you may not know at all because a lot of these people are literally taught how to mask things. Their whole job is acting for a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And so, people fly under the radar and just, be aware that there's so many people out there. And we'll do an episode eventually on the different things under the umbrella also, like some of the ones that I talked about. But,
Yeah, and like I think it goes to show too that like it goes back to our comment of like if there are autistic characters being written into
mhm.
shows, there are autistic actors to play those characters, or if it's an ADHD character, having an ADHD person play them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's good to represent fully and not have it just be like an act
yeah, absolutely.
for representation equity purposes.
Yeah. And just like major props because all those lists that I listed that I read off are people who came out about their own diagnosis, as far as I could tell
Mhm.
from what was produced. Like it's not people that were outed in some way. Most of them are people who are have said it and are actively, working for that equity and awareness in the media and stuff too. Mm.
Yeah. It is interesting. I feel like I guess this is a question. Are you out at work?
I am out to a lot of people at work. Not everyone, but most
Yeah.
people, yeah. Mm.
Wait, queer or autistic? ADHD.
Both, I
We've
guess.
got it. We've got it.
Great question on the coming out thing, because I have come out more times in my life than I can count.
Every day.
But I used to not be because I worry so much about how it's going to affect how people treat me.
Yeah.
But in the environment that I'm in and the point in life that I'm in where I'm just like, I just don't, it's not that I don't care. It's just that I don't really care if it affects me negatively because I'm willing to stand up for myself now to that degree. And it's safe for me too. A lot of people, it's not safe in their environment, but I'm at that point now where I'm just like, you know what? Matters more to me to, say like, hey, I'm autistic. This is the expectations. Like, it may color the way that you see me, but it also can help color like the way that you interact with me. And maybe it helps us, be on a more level playing field. Or like, you don't take my deadpan for me being mad or something like that.
Yeah. Gives
Mm,
context.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Do you ever disclose it to parents that you're working for or working with?
I have a couple of times, primarily only when we're talking about it already
Yeah.
in the context of the kiddo or
Mhm.
the parents.
Mhm.
But I do feel like it's given me more confidence in talking about that. So like a lot of times I will come into a session and like notice some things and I'm like, oh, it seems like it's really challenging. Do you guys have like other neurodiversities in the family or anything? And then they'll usually say like, oh yeah, I have ADHD. And then we'll kind of talk more about that, like, oh, that really affects like parenting, and this is where I'm coming from my understanding.
Yeah.
Um, or like if they're pursuing an autism diagnosis and just being like, oh, like I have autism, I have gone through this process to get mine.
Yeah.
Like, here's the benefits of diagnosing young, or like,
Yeah.
or not, one way
Right.
or the other. Like, but
I
I
think
also try to
it's
make it really clear that I'm not like because I'm pushing it harder or anything. Like,
exactly.
really.
Exactly. I think it's
Mm,
super important for people to have representation and like to have that more openness and more open dialogue because it can be such a taboo.
mm,
It can be
mhm.
taboo to talk about.
Yeah, it definitely can be, and I think that makes it more scary as I would imagine as a parent looking at a diagnosis if you don't know anyone who is,
Yeah.
you don't see, different levels of it around you.
Yeah.
What about you? Are you out at work at all? Mm.
Am I out at work? To some people, I'll like toss in that I'm autistic ADHD all the time, like with
Do you do it
students too.
casually where you're just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, my autism the other day, but
No, and it'll be like I like to do it almost like to sting people. Like I told everyone about my car getting broken into last week, and they were like, "Well, why wouldn't you lock the doors?" I'm like, "I'm ADHD. I can barely remember to feed myself sometimes," and then walk away, like drop bombs like that left and right. And I'm like, you know what?
I'm on ADHD. One time I left my fish in the car for
Yeah, tidbit. Do you want to know half the stuff that I do on a daily basis that us do? I've never like spoken about it to a parent in an IEP meeting, but I have talked to students about it before.
yeah.
Um,
But yeah, because yours is set up a little differently where you really
it
only see the parents kind of at meetings. Like
yeah, like a once a year
you don't have
meeting.
much communication with the parents
Yeah,
regularly. Whereas mine are like every session is with the parent and
exactly.
it's like half for the parent
It
and half
is.
for the kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So, and then one of my staffs, like I actually I've made this announcement a few times, like during or before I present to whole staffs,
Mm.
where I'm like, I'm really nervous. I'm autistic. This is really hard for me to do. And then I'll just like go on.
Yeah, I did
But
that. I did that with work too, that we had to
yeah,
do a group PT presentation. And
yes.
I came in and said, I'm willing to do the PowerPoint. I'm willing to put it on the slides. I'm willing
Yeah.
to like do all the editing.
Hmm.
I will do everything else that you want, but I do not want to be up there and verbally present
Yep.
anything. And they did it. So
Yeah. And I feel like it just gives you freedom to
Mhm.
be who you are and let people accept you. And I think like it perpetuates that narrative of like we all belong. And
Mhm.
so when you are talking with families or when we're talking about people in media. I mean, it's just like, yeah, we're all here.
Yeah. That
So
normalization and representation of we're here and we've got strengths.
we're
Come
here
on
and we're
now.
queer.
We're here and we're maybe also, who knows, there's a lot of overlap.
That I am not out at work about,
Oh
but
yeah.
I mean, everyone knows.
Yeah.
My friend Catherine, she was like, I looked at you and I was like, who is this gay person that showed up one day?
I love
I was
that.
like, yes.
I am succeeding in my mission. So yeah, I go on the opposite and like you where I throw in my queerness here and
Yes.
there. So like I like am mostly like femme passing and
Yeah.
like don't really just mask that often for work stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'll throw in that like, oh, my girlfriend and I.
Yes. Love. Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, people need to hear it.
It's important for people to know that there's people listening. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's important all the time for speaking up of things of like even like the infantilization that we were talking about. Like, speak up, just say like, oh, hey, I don't really like the way you said that. Or like, if
Yeah.
they know that another autistic person is present with them, they may like change the way that they think about
It's
what's going
true.
on. Same thing
It's
with
true.
queerness of like, if they know you're in the room, they may change the way that they're thinking about it.
Yeah, it's true. I had someone talk to me about that in terms of like transness and how like there's just so much hate right now and it feels like it's on this global level and that like it takes representation and people knowing people personally for it to
Mhm.
like make that connection and how important it is to be out to give that representation, especially if you're white or have like more privileges in one way or another,
More
more
safety. Yeah.
safety.
Yeah. Representing for the people that are unable to because of those
Yeah.
situations. Yeah.
So I know I talked in the episode about like gender and haircuts. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what we talked about like wanting to just hide and like put myself away and not. And I think that I've been like thinking about that ever since I've talked about it. And I'm like, that's not what I'm like gonna do. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like a feeling, but like that's fear and that's what the whole society wants to. And if there wasn't this like society umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
cloud rather, not an umbrella, but like,
Cloud.
yeah,
Overcasting
you
us
just have
all.
to be who you are. It's also an all about love, which we'll talk about on our book club podcast.
Love
Yeah.
it.
All right.
Yeah. So it's complex. I mean, nothing that we say is Bible for this. So
Bible. Did you ever watch the
Bible.
Kardashians? They say Bible to
Bible.
like truth. Are you telling
Oh,
the
okay.
truth? Bible. Bible.
That's funny.
Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, what we're saying isn't like, I don't know, the end all be all. There's so much to all of these things and so many opinions out there.
Yeah.
Gosh, if you
And
get on
like if you
Reddit or anything.
exactly. And if you disagree with us, totally
Yeah,
say it. And
yeah,
you're welcome to listen.
yeah.
You're welcome to
There's
listen.
perspective outside of our own. So
I don't know what I'm saying, Brie.
I'm getting us tired, so we're gonna
Yes.
wrap it up. Wrap it
Wrap her up.
up.
Language is not languaging.
Not languaging. All right, be unapologetically you this week
Find your joy.
and show it.
Say it, don't spray it.
Oh God.
I don't know why that popped into my head. Show.
Do that now.
We're losing it.
All right, bye, hotties.
Bye. Thanks for joining us this week. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music.
Please like, subscribe, and leave us a review. We could use some of those. If you want to get pictures that go along with our episodes and follow along, join us on Instagram and TikTok.
Thanks, hotties. I thought about it earlier when you said that you lost your diamond earrings
Oh.
because there's this like clip of her like losing a diamond earring in the ocean and she starts like crying and then her sister Courtney is like, Kim, there are people dying.